Welcome back to the Emily Show. This week, while I am red solo cup deep in covering the Karen Reed trial out of Massachusetts, I wanted to cover something that I don't know when I will have a chance to get back to. So it is going on the podcast, which is where I'm going to try to keep up with some of the other cases I'm covering. But it's also going to be an overview because the amount of stuff that is going on in this trial is breaking my brain. And if you're not watching with me daily, you have to come join us for some live trial coverage, or at least download the Lawnerd app so that you know when key witnesses are testifying and I can keep you in the loop if you don't have all day to watch trial coverage, because I get it. But hey, Tuesday and Thursdays are half days. So come on in. It's a wild one, isn't it? But today we need to get into something else that shook everyone and was much the topic of conversation. And that is Scandoval coming out of the Vanderpump Rules world. Don't worry if you don't watch Vanderpump Rules. I will explain to you the legal behind this lawsuit. I've covered it once before. So if you want to go watch the first part of Raquel sues Ariana and Tom, I've already covered that. But today we have the response. And oh boy, do we need to get into it. So let's go. Welcome to the Emily Show. I'm Emily D. Baker, the internet's go-to legal analyst and big fan of the cursey words. I've been a licensed attorney for over 17 years. I'm a former prosecutor, and I break down the legal side of pop culture and entertainment stories we can't stop talking about. We should just get into it. Let's go. For those of you not familiar with Vanderpump Rules, Ariana Madix and Tom Sandoval were dating for like a decade on the show. Rachel, who had been going by Raquel on the show and is now going by Rachel, was dating DJ James Kennedy, who now seems to be the number one guy on the group because by pushing those little buttons on his laptop, he just played to massive audiences at both Coachella and Stagecoach. So I think the one who's laughing, well, partly in all of this, is DJ James Kennedy, even though he got thrown under the bus heavily in the first part of this lawsuit. He seems to be going on living his best life. But Rachel started dating James Kennedy. They got engaged. They had an engagement party on the show. Apparently, Sheena and Brock got married at the same time, but didn't tell anybody. And then a year later had their own wedding. I don't know if that was a production choice or what, but that's beside the point. Ariana and Tom had been dating. Ariana had made very clear she didn't want to get married, but they had purchased a house together and they were in a committed and long-term partnership. Well, she also became very close with Rachel, but not as close as her partner, Tom Sandoval, who started a months-long affair with Rachel that Ariana Madix discovered. Not only did Ariana discover one of her good friends was cheating with her partner, but she discovered it through finding an intimate video on her partner's phone. And the Scandoval spiraled from there. Somebody yelled, "I need a producer, a camera, and Andy Cohen." And cameras picked back up to start filming the aftermath of the Scandoval, which led to a very spicy reunion last season and to cameras being picked up very quickly this season. Interestingly enough, news just came out that they are not picking cameras up this summer and the show is taking a pause. I wonder if all the lawsuits are a part of that, or if the fact that the cast seems to really not be able to be in the same room altogether any longer is a part of that. I think they just, at this point, should give Ariana and Katie a spinoff show and follow their journey to opening their sandwich shop. But I'm not a reality television producer. That's just me. So in all of that, not only is there a lawsuit going on where Ariana has sued Tom to get out of their home that they purchased mutually and to force a sale of the home. We've seen a lot of discussion about that lawsuit on the show. Well, the lead up to that lawsuit on the show, the letters back and forth between lawyers, the arguments that Tom wants to buy her out for a fair market value. And she's like, that's not exactly a fair market value. And then I jokingly suggested in other coverage that Tom Sandoval should just bring Tom Schwartz in as a roommate. And they actually talked about it on the show. And then Tom Schwartz was like, I'm not paying you like $6,000 towards your mortgage. Tom Sandoval told him that would be half the mortgage. Folks, what? Tom, what are you doing? I have so many questions, but That litigation is still moving forward, and we have covered it up to the point that we're at now. There are no further documents in the litigation to sell the house. I'm still optimistic that the parties will be able to financially resolve that and walk away. Ariana reportedly just recently purchased herself a new home. Girl, get the bag. She's performing on Broadway. She's in every ad during a Bravo show. Get it all. I'm glad she can live out of the house while that house gets sold. So that brings us to this lawsuit. Imagine my surprise when the other woman in the relationship decided to sue the partnership that she broke up. Yep, that's where we find this lawsuit. Rachel, through her attorneys, who are the same attorneys that represent Bethany Frankel in the Reality Reckoning stuff. So when Rachel Leviss filed this lawsuit on February 29th, 2024 with her attorney, Mark Garagos, yes, you might remember Mark Garagos from, I don't know, being the defense attorney for Scott Peterson, but also more recently representing Bethany Frankel and all of the Reality Reckoning stuff. She filed for eavesdropping, revenge porn, invasion of privacy, and intentional infliction of emotional distress, and then spent a good half of her lawsuit excoriating Bravo, Andy Cohen, Sheena, James Kennedy, the way James Kennedy cares for his dog, now named Hippie, and then Tom Sandoval, and then Ariana Madix. But she threw everyone in production under the bus first. So I spent half this lawsuit coverage going, what does this have to do with the underlying lawsuit? The heart of the underlying lawsuit is the allegation that Tom Sandoval recorded illicitly a FaceTime sexy time between himself and Rachel while she was pleasuring herself, and that was done in a way that invaded her privacy. Then when Ariana discovered said video on the phone, Ariana, they allege, shared that video out, hence the revenge porn invasion of privacy. And then the fallout from the Scandoval would be the intentional infliction of emotional distress. That's where we're getting into today as we cover both responses to this lawsuit. Ariana filed a anti-SLAPP motion to have the case dismissed and get attorney's fees. Tom filed two motions. One is a demurrer and one is a motion to strike. We're going to go through Ariana's motions first. So we have lots of legal to cover today. I'm going to summarize some of these parts. We have covered lots of anti-SLAPP motions on the channel before, so some of you will be familiar with what they do in California, allowing final resolution of lawsuits very early on. We're going to talk about that in a minute. So as we jump into Ariana's view of this lawsuit, I'm going to remind you one more time. Emily, you're going to talk about this the whole podcast? Yep. Don't forget to download the Law Nerd app at lawnerd.app.com to stay in the loop, not just with coverage like this on the Emily Show podcast, but also with all of my live trial coverage. And it is the best way for me to let you know when we have members only live streams and other live streams, and the best way for me to stay in touch for all of the things that you want to know. Did I mention that it's free on iOS and Android? Yep, both of those things. Okay. This is the Memorandum of Points and Authorities introduction perspective from Ariana. Quote, for 7 years, plaintiff Rachel Leviss knowingly agreed to have every aspect of her life filmed and broadcast to millions of people on the reality television series Vaderpump Rules. Plaintiff's decision to expose her entire life to the viewing public brought her fame, money, and opportunities she never would have experienced otherwise, and plaintiff reveled in the attention, going so far as to allow camera crews to film her engagement and confessions of her sex life with her fiancé. In August 2022, plaintiff began having an affair with one of her castmates, Tom Sandoval, who was in a long-term relationship with defendant Ariana Madix. Contrary to plaintiff's allegations, Ms. Madix did not know about the affair. But on March 1st, 2023, Ms. Madix learned about it in the worst way possible by discovering a video on Sandoval's phone of plaintiff and Sandoval having phone sex. Madix was devastated and immediately confronted Sandoval and plaintiff regarding their betrayal. Madix also informed her friends and colleagues. One thing Madix did not do was share or show any of the video footage she found on Sandoval's phone with anyone but plaintiff. In fact, Madix could not have shared such footage because Sandoval deleted it from her phone within minutes of Madix confronting him. In fact, Madix stated so in writing 33 minutes after sending the videos to plaintiff. Notwithstanding Ms. Madix's discretion and restraint, plaintiff alleges in the complaint that Madix should have done absolutely nothing after discovering the messages and sexually explicit video between her life partner and plaintiff. If plaintiff had it her way, Madix would not have told anyone about the affair or the video. But because Madix did share such information, as is her right, plaintiff seeks to punish her and blame Madix for the negative reaction plaintiff received as a result of her affair with Sandoval. Plaintiff's complaint against Madix is an abuse of the legal process. Plaintiff does not seek to vindicate any cognizable rights, but to punish Madix and deter others from exercising their constitutionally protected right of free speech. Such conduct is plainly barred by California's anti-SLAPP statute. Because plaintiff claims against Ms. Madix fall within the broad ambit of anti-SLAPP, they should be stricken and Madix should be awarded her attorney's fees. SLAPP, by the way, SLAPP stands for Strategic Litigation Against Public Participation. The goal of anti-SLAPP motions is to stop people from using litigation and lawsuits to silence others, and it allows them to be litigated early on in the process to resolve it if it is speech-based. And if you win an anti-SLAPP suit against the person that sued you, you generally get your reasonable attorney's fees covered by that party. They go into the relevant factual background of when Vaderpump Rules started in 2013 and what the show is. If you have not watched, and if you did not start watching during Scandoval, that is a typical Bravo show where people drink and yell at one another. Actually, less people drink this season. There is less drinking now, but people drink and yell at each other. It talks about plaintiff coming onto the show. In 2016, plaintiff began dating series regular James Kennedy and agreed to make appearances on the show's 5th season. It seems that Rachel went to SUR to meet James Kennedy, to begin dating James Kennedy, to get on the show. Not that it didn't seem to me that James Kennedy started dating Kristen to get onto the show, but yeah, you know, such is the cycle of reality TV. Then they talk about her ending her engagement with James Kennedy in December 2021. She returned to the show in season 10 and admitted when filming started in July 2022, she was depressed, in a bad emotional state, drinking heavily, and looking to jump into a new relationship. Her storylines focused on dating other cast members, including a flirtation with a fellow cast member's ex-husband. Would that be the kissing? That would be the kissing with Tom Schwartz and the flirting with Tom Schwartzy, right? In Mexico for Sheena's wedding celebration. I mean, her second wedding on the show, but wedding celebration. It goes on to say behind the scenes, plaintiff had a secret romantic relationship with Sandoval, who was then in a committed relationship with Madix and had been for 9 years. Plaintiff and Sandoval successfully managed to keep their affair a secret from Madix, the production team, and other cast members until after the filming for season 10. On March 1st, 2023, while Sandoval's band, Tom the Most Extras, was playing at a club in West Hollywood, Tom, one of the restaurants on the show, Sandoval's phone fell from his pocket and a mutual friend handed it to Ariana. As you would do, you would just hand it to his partner. Because Sandoval and Madix had been in a committed relationship for so long and because they trusted one another and presumably did not keep secrets from one another, Madix knew many of Sandoval's passcodes, including the one for his phone. Call it women's intuition. When the set ended, Madix felt the need to check Sandoval's phone and went to the women's room for privacy. In a locked stall, she accessed the phone and saw strangely suspicious text messages between Sandoval and plaintiff. Madix then opened the photo app on Sandoval's phone and was shocked to find a video of a FaceTime call between Sandoval and plaintiff that showed Sandoval's face in the upper corner, while the main image was of plaintiff self-pleasuring. Madix quickly snapped 2 short recordings of the video on her own phone before closing Sandoval's phone and leaving the bathroom. Back in the club, Madix walked up to Sandoval, who asked if she wanted to go into the alley for a cigarette. In the alley, Madix confronted him about the affair. Concerned that people might overhear, Sandoval tried to move her away from the club. Around the same time, Ariana sent the videos she recorded to plaintiff, along with a text message reading, "You're dead to me." Ms. Madix did not share, display, or send the video to anyone else. In fact, Madix only saw the video of plaintiff in places secluded from others, alone in the bathroom stall and in the alley with Sandoval. A heated argument ensued. Sandoval forcibly grabbed Madix's phone from her, causing her credit cards and driver's license to fall to the pavement. She gathered her things off the pavement and chased Sandoval, who had further distanced himself from TomTom. By that time, Sandoval had deleted from her phone the videos she had recorded of the FaceTime video. Sandoval had also deleted the videos from the recently deleted folder of her phone. Oh, well, he knows exactly where to go to delete videos, doesn't he? Like, most people don't think to also go to recently deleted. Interesting, isn't it? Minutes later, Madix texted a friend about what happened, stating, quote, "I called her after finding out and texting her the videos of herself from Tom's phone that I took. Tom took my phone and deleted them, chased him all the way down San Vicente." What's interesting, this is a side note from me. What's interesting is that while this was going down, Sheena, another cast member and besties, or at the time besties with Ariana, was filming Watch What Happened Live in New York with Andy Cohen and Rachel. So this all went down as they had finished filming Watch What Happens Live, which led to the confrontation between Sheena and Rachel in New York that led to the restraining order that Rachel then filed against Sheena, which was my entree into getting to talk about everything Vanderpump on this show because it's legal-ish. Look, reality meets legal is Emily's happy place. The next section is just titled Scandoval. As any reasonable person would do after learning they had been cheated on, Madix began informing her friends about what happened. According to plaintiff, she did the exact same thing. On March 3rd, news broke of the affair and was covered by dozens of media outlets who dubbed it Scandoval. Many of the articles noted that Madix had learned about the affair by finding intimate videos of plaintiff on Sandoval's phone. Not a single article contained such videos nor screenshots of the videos. Although much of the public discussion about plaintiff was negative, she was thrilled to be in the public eye. Plaintiff recalled seeing an Us magazine. Quote, "We," plaintiff and Sandoval, "were on the front cover in a little square on the top right." And I was like, oh my gosh, I've always wanted to be on the cover of a magazine. I didn't think it was going to be like this, but it's still cool, right? That's from Exhibit 7 at 36 minutes, which is going to be one of the podcast interviews she has done. Contrary to her allegations in the complaint, plaintiff made numerous public statements about her affair with Sandoval, in which she admitted that Madix did not know about it, apologized for hurting her, and admitted that plaintiff had personal issues she needed to work on. At no time did plaintiff claim that Madix caused her any harm. Footnote 2, in stark contrast by her statements about Madix, however, plaintiff routinely alleged that she had been harmed by Ms. Shea, Sheena, whom she obtained a restraining order against. After the affair became public, plaintiff entered a mental health treatment facility for 90 days. In a statement to People magazine, plaintiff's representative stated that plaintiff's decision to seek treatment was made prior to Madix learning about the affair. Plaintiff later admitted that she sought treatment for childhood and pre-existing issues of codependency and self-esteem issues that caused her to have the affair with Sandoval in the first place. And despite Sandoval recording plaintiff's video without her consent, plaintiff continued to date Sandoval until mid-May 2023. Plaintiff's returned to the public eye. After leaving treatment and despite plaintiff's current allegation that she, quote, remains a shell of her former self with her career prospects stunted and her reputation in tatters, plaintiff has sought to capitalize on her newfound fame. In August 2023, plaintiff was featured in a 3-part interview on the podcast Just Be with Bethany Frankel. To be clear, plaintiff contacted the podcast to pitch the interview, not the other way around. Bethany Frankel, who's represented by the same lawyer as Rachel. That Bethany? On December 2nd, 2023, plaintiff posted on social media a picture of herself dancing with the caption, "Dancing the Night Away last night at Heart Jingle Ball." I think that's the iHeartRadio Jingle Ball. On December 3rd, she posted photos of herself at Nobu in Malibu with the caption, "Nobu Restaurants with the iHeart team," because iHeart wanted the Rachel Goes Rogue podcast. In January 2024, plaintiff premiered her Rachel Goes Rogue podcast, or they already had it, I suppose. According to plaintiff's press release, quote, she will passionately cultivate candid conversations, breaking the fourth wall in reality TV, and frankly discussing living her entire dating life on camera. Are you to tell me that Rachel didn't date anyone until James Kennedy? Because living her entire dating life on camera seems to indicate that she didn't date anyone until James. That's interesting. Also, I would like to note that just because she is out at events does not mean that she is not struggling. I don't know if it means her reputation is in tatters because people are still inviting her to events. She is still able to sign with iHeartRadio. Like, it's not a scandal where no one will touch her the way other scandals may be. So I don't know. I don't think her going out necessarily means that she's not still struggling, but she also doesn't seem to be unemployable. In February 2024, plaintiff appeared on the cover of Hollywood Life magazine and gave an interview to discuss her podcast and focusing on her future outside of the Bravo sphere. They say that plaintiff changes her tune and blames Madix for the damage caused by her own misdeeds. February 29th, 2024, plaintiff filed this lawsuit. While much of the complaint is aimed at Bravo and its alleged exploitation and mistreatment of plaintiff, Bravo is not named as a defendant. The complaint also blames Madix for the negative public attention plaintiff received as a result of her affair with Sandoval. Plaintiff's position is not only illogical, but also a clear violation of Madix's right to speak freely about matters of public concern. This language gets directly into what the Anti-SLAPP statute is for, which is discussing matters of public concern. Plaintiff voluntarily agreed to appear on a reality television series that placed every aspect of her personal life in the public spotlight and under a microscope, viewed by millions of people every week. I mean, more after Scandoval. As a matter of law, Madix cannot be liable for participating in discussions of a public matter. This lawsuit should have never been filed against Madix and is ripe for early adjudication. The Anti-SLAPP. For that reason, Madix brings this special motion to strike pursuant to section 425.16. The Anti-SLAPP statute, and then they list out the Anti-SLAPP statute and what it seeks to do, which is engage in a two-step process to determine whether the action is subject to the motion to strike. First, the court decides if the defendant has made a threshold showing that the challenged cause of action is one arising from protected activity, free speech about a matter of public concern. And then it goes and shifts to the plaintiff to show that they can overcome that, and if they have a probability of prevailing on the claim. Then they go through a breakdown of how this is Ariana commenting on a matter of public concern. They talk about the fact that Rachel is a person in the public eye and that this is a matter of public interest. They then go on to say that plaintiff cannot demonstrate a reasonable probability of prevailing on her causes of action because she will not be able to meet that burden. She will not be able to show a legally sufficient claim and that the claim is supported by competent admissible evidence sufficient to sustain a judgment in her favor. They then talk about the laws with regard to revenge porn and the fact that Madix, they say, did not send the videos to anyone other than to plaintiff, though they don't break out case law. They quote the section, and I covered this when I covered the initial lawsuit. The person knew that the other person had reasonable expectation that the material would remain private. If the FaceTime is going on between her and Sandoval, it's already not, but I don't know if she knew Sandoval would record it. Sandoval's recording of the conversation is on Sandoval. If Sandoval knew that Rachel believed that that would remain private, that's different. So they have to show that Ariana knew that there was an expectation that it would remain private when seeing it on Sandoval's phone and that it was distributed. They are arguing that the distribution wasn't distribution because she sent it back to the person in the video. And they reiterate that Ariana sent it only to Rachel. They go on to say this is consistent with every statement Madix has made about the incident from the beginning, including a text message sent 33 minutes after she sent the videos to plaintiff, a March 7th letter sent to the plaintiff's then attorney, and an interview she gave in August, well before the filing of this lawsuit, which says, quote, I have not shown or sent the video. I don't have it. I did not hold on to it for any reason. And just so everyone knows, I saw about 5 seconds of that. I wasn't sitting there like opening popcorn for movie night. We'll get to Ariana's declaration where she shows some of the screenshots of her text messages. And then they go on to say that Madix's conduct did not cause plaintiff harm, that plaintiff's conduct caused plaintiff's harm. The reason the public was talking negatively about plaintiff was because of the affair that she engaged in, not because of anything Ariana did. They go through the other causes of action and conclude with Ms. Madix's actions are clearly protected under the anti-SLAPP statute. Accordingly, Ms. Madix respectfully requests that this motion to strike be granted, the complaint be dismissed against her with prejudice, and she be awarded attorney's fees as an element of the costs per the anti-SLAPP statute. We are going to get into really quickly Ariana's declaration attached to this, and then the letter from the attorneys before we move on to Tom's filings. In the declaration, Ariana says, I sent the videos I recorded to plaintiff, Rachel, along with the text message reading, quote, you're dead to me. A true and correct copy is attached. I did not send the videos to anyone else, nor did I share, display, or show the videos to anyone else. To be clear, I only saw the video of plaintiff pleasuring in places secluded from others, i.e. alone in the bathroom stall and in the alley with Sandoval. Then she talks about the argument and all the rest of the things that are relayed in the body of the response. She then says that she texted her friend Logan, who you will have seen on the show. He's one of the managers at TomTom, tall, blonde, texted Logan about what happened, stating, quote, I called her after finding out and texting her the videos from herself from Tom's phone that I took. Tom took my phone and deleted them, chased him all the way down San Vicente, and then that's attached as well. When we go to the screenshot, Rachel is saved in Ariana's phone at this time as Raquel. That was the name that Rachel was going by at the time. And it shows conversation about Watch What Happens Live. Then it shows a text from Saturday, February 25th. Yay, I'm happy you're coming with Brad and Jamie. Then it says Wednesday, 9:37 p.m. You are dead to me, all caps. Friday at 8:56 p.m., the response comes from presumably Rachel saying, Ariana, I don't know what to say right now besides I really fucked up and I am so, so sorry. The response is, shut the fuck up, you fucking rat. And then it shows Friday at 9:06, you stop sharing location with Raquel. So Ariana at some point was close enough friends with Raquel to share her location with her. So Rachel would have known exactly where Ariana was while things were happening because Ariana had location sharing shared with Raquel. I don't know if Raquel had her location shared back. We know from the show that Raquel was sharing her location with Sheena and then stopped sharing her location with Sheena, which made Sheena suspicious that something was going on. But we also know that Raquel was having an affair with Ariana's boyfriend and partner, and Raquel knew where Ariana was because they had phone location sharing on. So as much as Raquel has tried to distance herself from that she and Ariana were like more like acquaintances, when have you heard that recently? You don't share your location with an acquaintance. Ariana's a public figure. You don't just share your location with an acquaintance. Blows my mind. Absolutely blows my mind. Exhibit 2 is her text with Logan, which is the series of 3 text messages, all in lower caps. I called her after finding out and texting her the videos. And that just shows that she sent those texts. As part of their declarations, they submitted a Celebrate phone extraction from an expert that verifies that those screenshots are not altered or tampered with, and that those screenshots are in fact true and correct screenshots. And then there's a notice of lodging of exhibits that I thought was funny. So I'm going to share that too. These are the exhibits shared with the court. The first one is a link to a Twitter clip from Watch What Happens Live. This is the captioning that the lawyers put in. Exhibit 1 is a true and correct copy of a video clip captioned, "I just don't suck James Kennedy's dick," posted by the Bravo Watch What Happens Live Twitter account on March 1st, 2023. And because Bravo gets real salty about sharing clips of anything, I'm going to tell you exactly what is said in that clip by Rachel. During this clip, Rachel and Sheena are together on Watch What Happens Live, and Andy says, "You know, I've asked some shady questions. I've said some shady stuff, Rachel, but James Kennedy has complained that you don't suck his dick." And Rachel responded, "Well, I don't suck James Kennedy's dick." And Andy Cohen kind of responds with, "I didn't think you had it in you." That clip is from not long before this entire affair comes spiraling out into the public sphere. The lawyers go on to share episodes from Rachel Goes Rogue's podcast, episodes from Bethany's interview with Rachel, Just Be with Bethany, an episode of Shenanigans with Ariana, an episode of Kristen Doty's podcast, Sex, Love, and What Else Matters with Kristen Doty, and an episode of Heather McDonald's podcast, Juicy Scoop, with Heather McDonald, with Lala Kent on the show. So all of those are lodged with the court. And Your Honor, I volunteer as tribute. Look, I hung my hat up as a research attorney for the Los Angeles County Superior Court over at Stanley Mosque quite a long time ago. But I volunteer as tribute. If you need someone, tap me in. I've probably listened to most of the podcast episodes already anyway. I'm happy to come in and just kind of explain the Scandoval of it all, but you probably have a very competent law clerk who is already up to speed with all of this for you. But I can just envision a law clerk sitting down and being like, "Okay, so Your Honor, what's tea?" Is that, and explaining Scandoval to a Los Angeles County Superior Court judge. I can just hear how that goes. All right, let's get to Sandoval's responses. First up is the notice of Sandoval's demurrer and demurrer to the complaint. This is filed by Matthew Garagos. Yes, Matthew Garagos is the brother of Mark Garagos. Yes, they are both lawyers. Yes, they are both lawyers in LA. No, I do not know the nature of their relationship. But yes, it gets confusing that half the lawyers in this lawsuit are named Garagos. It's a lot. Demurrer to the first cause of action for eavesdropping. Defendant Sandoval demurs to plaintiff's first cause of action for eavesdropping on the grounds that it fails to state a claim. This is your 12B6 motion to dismiss, except California court. Demurs to the third cause of action for invasion of privacy on the grounds that it fails to state a claim. Demurs to the fourth cause of action for IIED, stating that it fails to state a claim and sufficient facts. And then we get into the argument of the pleading. This civil case arises out of a sordid affair between plaintiff Rachel Leviss and defendant Tom Sandoval, two of the central figures in the widely publicized and popular reality television series entitled Vaderpump Rules. I don't know if you would, well, I mean, Rachel is a central figure now. The affair, dubbed Scandoval, occurred while Sandoval was cohabitating with his longtime girlfriend, fellow cast member co-defendant Ariana Madix. The affair came to light when Madix discovered explicit FaceTime videos of Leviss on Sandoval's phone. After thrusting the vicissitudes of her life into the limelight for ongoing public consumption and critique from 2016 to 2023, Leviss has now filed the instant action against defendants Sandoval and Madix, complaining of being, quote, an object of public scorn and ridicule. That sentence is a choice. That was a decision. Lawyers, when they get snappy, thrusting was just, is that really, we're talking about an affair? Choices, that was a choice. It goes on to say Rachel's lawsuit is a thinly veiled attempt to extend her fame and to rebrand herself as the victim instead of the other woman, while denigrating her former friend as a scorned woman and her former paramour as predatory. Oh, there's paramour again. Ask Corey Richins about her paramour. No, don't. The police already did. Moving on. Indeed, it goes on to say that it establishes Leviss as the victim. Her complaint contains irrelevant but incendiary allegations of Leviss's persecution by multiple non-parties, including Bravo Media, Evolution Media, her former boyfriend, fiance James Kennedy, Sheena Shea, and Andy Cohen. Notably, since November 2023 to the present date, Leviss has actively maintained a provocative podcast, Rachel Goes Rogue, to further bend the narrative to her will. It goes on to list out the claims that were filed, and it says, quote, however, these videos were created by Leviss and published by Leviss to Sandoval via a consensual exchange on FaceTime, i.e., their video calls. Based on Leviss's own allegations, Sandoval merely saved private copies of the video that Leviss had filmed and shared with him. Sir, I don't think that's how FaceTime works. It's a live phone call. The lawyer seems to be indicating that Rachel made a video, filmed it, and shared it with Sandoval versus Sandoval recording it himself. Is he alleging that Rachel recorded the FaceTime call and then sent it and not the other way around? Because that seems to be what he's indicating. It says Sandoval merely saved private copies of the videos that Rachel had filmed and shared with him. So are they alleging that she recorded the FaceTime call and sent it to Sandoval? Because a cell phone extraction will just clear all this up. It goes on to say, as a result of the deficient allegations in the complaint, the causes of actions should be dismissed. And Sandoval has also filed a motion to strike. Leviss's complaint alleges the same three causes of action against Madix, with the addition of a claim for revenge porn. All of Leviss's claims against Madix arise out of her allegations that Madix found Leviss's explicit photos after searching through Sandoval's phone. Quote, at a minimum, Madix circulated the explicit videos to herself and Leviss and informed production about what she had found. Then they go on to the authority for Demurrer, which is the motion to dismiss. Defendant Sandoval's counsel met and conferred with plaintiff Leviss's counsel regarding the instant Demurrer. So he called his brother and they had a sit down. On April 9th, defendant Sandoval's counsel, Matthew Garagos, sent plaintiff Leviss's attorney a letter delineating the defects in the complaint and raising a demurrer. Matthew Garagos and plaintiff Leviss's attorney, Jason Sunshine. Oh, not Mark Garagos. The attorney's last name is Sunshine? I think that's kind of brilliant. Plaintiff's attorney, Jason Sunshine, also participated in a telephonic meet and confer on April 11th. No resolution was set forth. They then go on to list out all of the different legal grounds as to why they are saying the different causes of action cannot stand as pled. So this is different than the anti-SLAPP motion, which is to end litigation entirely with prejudice and pay one side attorney's fees. This is akin to a motion to dismiss that generally has the option to cure the deficiencies, refile the pleadings, etc. And then the lawsuit attaches the notice that was sent to the lawyers, which lines out basically what's in their demurrer, saying these causes of action are not sufficient and you either need to fix them or we're going to move to dismiss. There's also a motion to strike, which is to strike out a lot of the different parts of the pleadings that they find to be improper or inappropriate in it. So two different defendants, Ariana and Tom, two different courses of action, one for the ultimate anti-SLAPP to shut this whole thing down and get attorney's fees, the other to dismiss the causes of action before it moves forward. But Law 360 has published statements from Mark Garagos with regard to these responses to the lawsuit. Law 360 said, quote, Leviss's attorneys, Mark Garagos and Brian Friedman, said in a joint statement Tuesday that the, quote, only thing more laughable than Ariana's motion is her fairy tale account of how she discovered the relationship from Tom's phone. They went on to say that they look forward to cross-examining her on her declaration as we have irrefutable evidence that the videos were distributed. They go on to say, as for Sandoval, his response, quote, in the face of irrefutable evidence that will be presented in court is disturbing. Leveraging such claims for media attention and perpetuating victim blaming is not just deplorable, but actionable. Counsel for both Sandoval and Madix did not provide comment. So Rachel's attorneys are just like, lol, no. Rachel is persisting in suing both Ariana and Tom. Ariana's like, I didn't distribute anything, so you can't come after me. And Tom's attorneys seem to indicate that Rachel is the one who recorded the FaceTime video and then sent it to Tom. And all Tom did was save what was sent to him. The cell phones will clear this up because they're not going to lie. But with all of that, the Scandoval rages on, at least in court and through the rest of this season of Vanderpump Rules. We'll see, because I'm sure it's going to be the topic of much discussion at the reunion as this cast tries to find a way to keep moving on. But it really is what everybody has talked about. And Tom has a podcast. Rachel has a podcast. Sheena has a podcast. I think the attorney Mark Garagos has a podcast. Lala has a podcast. I have a podcast. Katie has a podcast. I think the only one on the cast that doesn't have a podcast is Ariana, because she's busy on Broadway and Dancing with the Stars. And maybe Tom Schwartz, though he shows up on Tom's podcast. Okay. Well, I'm sure we're going to hear about this on all of those podcasts and the rest of this season on Vanderpump Rules. I think it was very interesting to dive back into the world of reality TV. I wonder if we will be seeing more lawsuits with all of this instead of people just moving on. Rachel definitely isn't going to, and Tom and Ariana in this one don't have any choice because they're the ones being sued. I'm going to keep you up to date on this case, and every now and then we need to take a break from some of the heavier cases. I'm sure this feels heavy to the parties involved, but at the end of the day, I also hope all of them will be able to move on. And with that, it is time to say goodbye. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being a Law Nerd. Say it with me. Stay hydrated, friends. First, may your toilet paper be plentiful. That's not the first one. We're going with it anyway. May your Wi-Fi be strong, because you need to watch Trial every day for the rest of the next 7 weeks with me. May your family be well, and may the odds be ever in your favor. I will see you in the next one. All right, Law Nerds. I will talk to you soon. You can stay up to date with everything I'm covering on our free iOS and Android app at lawnerdapp.com, or search your app store for Law Nerd. And you can also follow me on social media at the Emily D. Baker. Remember, I stream on YouTube on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I recap all of that for you in quick bits on Monday. And of course, The Emily Show drops on Wednesdays. Thanks for being a Law Nerd.